You walk into the Home Depot tool aisle and you see three brands next to each other. Ryobi in green on the left, Ridgid in orange in the middle, Milwaukee in red on the right. Budget, mid-range, professional. You probably assume these are three competing companies fighting for your money. But they're not. They're all made by the same parent company, a Hong Kong conglomerate called Techtronic Industries. And in 2025, one of those brands recalled over 1 million products for explosions, fires, and blades that turn on when they shouldn't. This is the Built to Fail list. I spent an embarrassing number of hours on this rabbit hole, reading CPSC recall notices and forum posts from angry contractors, and it kept getting worse. TT. I reported $15.3 billion in revenue in 2025. They manufacture Ryobi, Ridgid, and Milwaukee, and sell all three primarily through Home Depot. Now here's the part that should bother you. The battery platforms between those three brands are completely incompatible. When you build out the Ryobi One Plus ecosystem and eventually outgrow it, you can't bring a single battery with you to Ridgid or Milwaukee. You start over from scratch. TTI calls this a good, better, best strategy. I personally think it's one of the most calculated retail plays I've seen, because no matter which tier you pick, the same company collects your money. And when the budget option breaks, the upgrade path is right there in the same aisle. But the battery incompatibility isn't even the real problem, because the batteries themselves might be rigged. In August 2025, a reverse engineer named Badr Jahangir Kayani published a teardown that should have made national news. He bought dozens of dead Ryobi 18-volt batteries from eBay, cracked them open, and tested the individual lithium cells inside. What he found was shocking. 65% of those batteries had perfectly healthy cells. Balanced voltage. Zero degradation. But the firmware chip on the battery management board had written a permanent lockout code that bricked the pack forever. Here's how it works. When a Ryobi battery sits in storage, a tiny parasitic drain slowly pulls the cells out of balance by about 0.15 volts. Not enough to cause real damage. But when you place that battery on a Ryobi charger, the firmware detects the imbalance and writes an irreversible lockout byte to memory. Once written, the battery is permanently dead. Not because the cells failed, but because software decided to kill it. Kayani published the schematics and recovery code on GitHub. His assessment was that the design turns usable packs into electronic waste, and he speculated it could be deliberate to drive replacement sales. After digging through this data myself, I don't have a great counter-argument, but bricked batteries are frustrating. What Ryobi recalled in 2025 was legitimately dangerous. 3 separate Ryobi product lines got pulled from Home Depot shelves in a single calendar year, totaling 1.15 million units. The electric pressure washers were the worst. Roughly 780,000 units had a capacitor that could overheat and violently explode, launching shrapnel into the operator's face and hands. The Consumer Product Safety Commission documented 41 explosions and 32 confirmed injuries, including fractured fingers and eye damage. These were $300 to $400 machines that Home Depot sold for 7 years. 2 class action lawsuits alleged TT. I knew about the defect since 2017. Then came the 40-volt brushless mowers. 246,000 units pulled for a connector that overheats and starts fires. 5 confirmed fires, 2 burn injuries. The recall process was such a headache that it triggered its own class action, because consumers had to cut wires in their mower handle and photograph the damage before getting a replacement. And the hedge trimmers. 128,000 units where the blade could activate by pressing just one control instead of requiring both the safety and the trigger simultaneously. 16 people were injured with lacerations before the recall happened. Now let me walk you through the actual built-to-fail list, because some of these are sitting in your garage right now. The Ryobi 80-volt HP brushless riding mower might be the single worst value in any Home Depot store. It retails for over $4,000, and 40% of reviews are 1 or 2 stars. Owners report the battery can't finish mowing under 1 acre after a few seasons, despite advertising coverage of 3 acres. Replacement packs cost $900 each, and Ryobi's own documentation says batteries need replacing every 3 years. That's a $900 subscription fee on a $4,000 mower. The Ryobi 1 plus 18-volt nailer and stapler is another one I'd personally walk past. It sits at 3.8 stars with 21% one-star ratings, and the most common complaint is hilarious in a painful way. The tool throws an error code on every nail. Every single one. Users have to remove and reinsert the battery between each shot. I genuinely cannot figure out how that passed quality control, but the floor drops even lower with HDX, Home Depot's absolute bottom-tier house brand. Tools in Action reviewed the HDX 2-gallon portable air compressor and rated it do not recommend. It puts out 0.4 cubic feet per minute at 90 pounds per square inch and takes over 3 minutes to fill. The reviewer said a plastic compressor that plugs into your car's cigarette lighter does about the same. That's the kind of review that makes you wonder who this product was designed for. But I think the most underrated part of this entire story is what happens when you try to return these tools. If you're finding this useful, hit subscribe. I cover honest tool breakdowns and DIY buying advice every week, because this next part is the one nobody warns you about. Ridgid's lifetime service agreement is the main reason anyone buys Ridgid over Ryobi. Free replacement of tools, batteries, and chargers for life. Sounds incredible. But you have to register within 90 days through an online portal that consistently malfunctions. One owner documented spending 3 hours across 3 phone calls, getting disconnected every time. Another had a store manager try to register from the store's own terminal, and the system still rejected it. Even when the warranty works, the coverage is shrinking. A professional deck builder documented that Ridgid kept replacing his large batteries with progressively smaller ones until they stopped replacing them entirely. Their explanation was that the lifetime of a battery is 3 years, so technically the warranty had been honored. And Ridgid's newer next line of benchtop tools. TTI confirmed to Tool Guide that those products no longer carry the lifetime service agreement at all. And here's the layer underneath all of this. Every time you return a tool to Home Depot, a company called the Retail Equation scans your driver's license and feeds your history into an algorithm across 27,000 stores. Return too many broken tools, and the system flags your account and denies your next return. Managers reportedly cannot override it. The irony is real. The company selling tools that get recalled by the millions is also quietly building a profile on how often you bring them back. So what should you actually buy? Here's what genuinely surprised me in the research. In Pro Tool Review's 2025 head-to-head impact driver comparison, the Ridgid 18-volt brushless model finished 3rd overall, ahead of both DeWalt and Makita in raw torque output. For a mid-tier Home Depot brand, that is a legitimately impressive result. And in basic wood driving and lag screw tests, a Ryobi 1 Plus drill performed almost identically to a DeWalt at roughly 1/3 the price point. For hanging shelves and assembling furniture on weekends, that's real value. The danger zone is Ryobi's outdoor power equipment. Mowers, pressure washers, leaf blowers, and hedge trimmers account for the vast majority of their recalls. Stay away from HDX for anything beyond disposable supplies. And if you buy Ridgid, register that lifetime service agreement the day you open the box. Not tomorrow. That day. The 1.15 million units recalled in 2025 are not a one-time glitch. They're the predictable result of engineering tools to hit a price point first and survive your garage second.